Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled is author James Ellroy and entertainer accordionist Dick Contino. James Ellroy's volume of short stories, Hollywood Nocturnes, is the last of his LA quartet. I don't know why he calls it quartet, because the other books are Black Dahlia, The Big Nowhere, LA Confidential, and White Jazz. Why is this?
It's not, Joan. It's not part of my LA quartet.
I see.
It's an addendum volume to my LA quartet.
Oh, so you're still totally into LA.
No, Joan. I have left LA permanently and irrevocably.
You know, you've written these 5 or 6 books about Los Angeles, and yet you moved away from Los Angeles and to Connecticut.
Yeah, actually, I've written 10 books about LA, if you include Hollywood Nocturnes, my collected short stories, just published in America by Otto Penzler Books.
I see.
Yeah, I blew LA.
Why?
A long time ago,
Why?
13 years ago.
Why did you do
For
that?
East Coast environs. I'd been here too long.
But you still went to the East Coast and wrote about Los Angeles?
LA is a life sentence. You know what they say about LA? Come on vacation, go home on probation.
Is that what happened to you?
Yeah.
If you had to give us a thumbnail of sketch of each one of these books, could you go through and say, let's start
I'm going
with
to start
one?
with Brown's Requiem, my very first novel.
Oh, you mean we have to go through 10 books?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a publicity tour.
Okay.
Brown's Requiem, my autobiographical first novel, a sleazy tale of winos, country club caddies, and a Beethoven-loving private eye. Volume 2, Clandestine, also a paperback original.
Right, okay, go on.
A story of Los Angeles in the early 1950s, a story of the Red Scare, a chronologically altered, heavily fictionalized account of my own mother's murder.
Which one was that, Clandestine?
Clandestine.
Okay.
Volume 3, Blood
Okay.
on the Moon.
I got it.
Story of a serial killer and a sex-obsessed psycho cop.
Okay.
Volume 4, Because the Night. That same psycho, sex-obsessed cop, his further adventures. Suicide Hill, Volume 5. That same psycho, sex-obsessed cop, Volume 3.
Stop.
Yes.
Did you know this? Was this cop a real guy?
No, I make all this stuff up.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
The Black Dahlia.
No, hey, you missed one.
Oh.
Killer on the Road.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
First-person account of a homosexual serial killer. Dig it. Okay.
Did you know that? Did you see something in the papers about it?
No, I'm a homosexual serial killer.
So
But I'm happily married. I don't kill anybody, and I live in Connecticut.
And you wrote it from first-hand knowledge.
I made it up.
Okay, go on.
A twisted imagination. Okay, Hepcats, we're getting into my LA quartet.
Oh, I can.
My
okay.
epic pop history of LA, my smog-bound fatherland, between the years of 1947 and 1959. The 4 volumes that comprise the LA quartet are The Black Dahlia, The Big Nowhere, LA Confidential, and White Jazz.
Okay.
And finally, last but certainly not least, Hollywood Nocturnes, my collected short fiction, top-lined by my novella, Dick Contino's Blues.
Okay. Now, tell us a little bit about the Black Dahlia, because that was actually something that happened in Los Angeles.
The Black Dahlia, Hepcats, is arguably America's most famous unsolved homicide case. January of 1947, a young woman named Elizabeth Short was found murdered, cut in half, nude, dumped into a vacant lot on the edge of South Central Los Angeles. The killing was never solved.
So, did
I
you
give
use
you a
those?
fictional solution.
I
I
see,
adhere to
I
all the
see.
facts of the case
I
as
see.
far as they're known,
I see.
then digress fictionally with valid, extrapolatable data, and provide the reader with a totally groovy, unsuspected conclusion.
I see. So, White Jazz, were all the quartet, quartet, having to do with real life situations?
Real life characters occur and recur in the quartet, but the basic fictional component of the book is just that, fictional characters. Rubbing elbows and other body parts with some real life people like Howard Hughes, the gangster Mickey Cohen, country western stars Spade Cooley and numerous others.
So those are mixed through these books?
Yes.
Different books about
Right.
different people. Why are you so obsessed with that period? You must have been very young,
Yeah, I
obviously.
was born in 1948, the year of the rat in Chinese astrology.
So you were very
appropriately.
young during that
Yeah.
period. And did you come in contact with these people?
No, I made it up. It's obsession. Hey,
But-
hey, hey.
but-
It's obsession.
But
I'm obsessed.
Spade Cooley, didn't you ever watch him on TV?
I watched him on TV.
So you
Yeah.
knew him as a
Yeah.
child?
Right, right.
Okay.
I wanted to recreate the LA of my early cognizance.
I got it. Okay.
And I did it.
So that's why we're
In surpassingly groovy fashion.
So that's why we're into the 50s,
Right.
because that was your childhood. Okay. Then you talked about getting to Dick Contino, who was also a star of the 50s.
Yeah, and the late 40s, and certainly the 60s, 70s, 80s, and into the 90s.
Well, how did
Dick
you-
Contino's headed for the Pantheon.
Why
He's
did
a
you?
Pantheon panther.
Why did you pick him?
Dig it, I'll tell you the whole story.
Okay.
It goes like this. In June of 1958, my mother was murdered. It was an unsolved killing. All right? A man picked her up in a bar, strangled her. The killing was never solved. I went to live with my father, and my reading focus darkened. I started grooving on crime novels. Now, the cultural minutia of the late 1950s is etched in bright neon in my head. I have a tiny, elliptical, oblique, infinitesimally small memory of seeing Dick Contino on TV and saying, "Who's that guy?" to my dad. My dad said, "He's no good. He's a draft dodger."
Oh.
The memory is just that tiny. Many, many years pass. I created the LA Quartet.
But
I
weren't
mused
you-
many real-life characters,
Weren't
but
you
I never
afraid?
included Dick Contino.
But weren't you afraid? You kept talking, you talked about your mother being murdered, and you talked about getting into these crime books. Weren't you afraid to face them?
No.
I mean, you came up with Dick Contino, who's like totally the opposite from this dark, dreary kind of crime-ridden interest that you had.
I don't have a dreary interest. I have a passionate interest.
Passionate,
My
then.
characters are much too sex-obsessed and volatile to ever whine, mope, or bemoan their fates.
So that's why you picked Dick Contino.
Dick never whines. Dick never bemoans his fate.
Right, but he's had a long history and a long fate.
And that's not all that's long, believe me.
So you're, as
Yes.
a writer,
Yes.
going to tell us how you actually
Yes.
found him.
Yes. Okay. Basically what happened was I didn't think about Dick Contino. I had a tiny, tiny, infinitesimally vague memory that he co-starred in a B movie called Daddy-O. Now, many years pass. Francois Guérif, who was watching off camera as we filmed this, my French publisher, editor, he's a film critic and one of my best friends, and my wife, Helen Canode, formerly a feature writer and film critic at the LA Weekly, the commie rag here in LA,
Yes.
have a great knowledge of movies. Daddy-O was such an obscure title that even they had never heard of it, so it became a running gag between us.
But how did you hear about it?
I don't know.
Oh, it just
Who knows
came
where
to you?
memories emanate from?
Yeah, only the shadow.
Yeah, the shadow knows.
I know.
Helen found Daddy-O in a video catalog. She ordered it. It arrived the next day. I popped it in the VCR. I saw 2 seconds of Donkey Dick Contino and realized that he would be the hero of my next book, beyond my book American Tabloid, which will be published early next year by Alfred A. Knopf.
I see.
$23.95, $24.95, depending on what inflation's up to at that time.
American Hero.
American Tabloid.
Oh, tabloid. Oh, so that's going to be really hot stuff.
It's a book for the whole family, if the name of your family is Manson.
Exactly. Okay, go on.
Right.
Go on to Contino.
I located Dick Contino. I hired a friend of mine to find him. I contacted Dick Contino. I said, "I want you to be the hero of my next book." He said, "Turn the burners on, Daddy-O, do it."
Did he use
Yeah, he
Daddy-O?
said
You're
Daddy-O.
making this
No,
all
I'm not.
up.
I never embellish.
He doesn't sound like
I
he
never embellish. I wrote a piece on Dick for GQ. I wrote the novella Dick Contino's Blues,
Ah, that's how you
which
started.
headlines the crime issue of Granta, the swingin'est literary magazine in the world.
I got it.
Dick Contino's Blues, a fictional, factional, picaresque ode to 1958 and the events leading up to the filming of Daddy-O is the story behind Dick Contino's Blues.
So we're going to stop there. We're going to stop in the 50s. The new book will be about something more contemporary.
American Tabloid?
Uh-huh.
No, American Tabloid is 1958 to 1963
Oh,
in America.
so you're just
I'm
going
not
to go
going
through
to-
the
no, I'm
rest of
not.
your life?
No, no,
I mean, up to the 90s?
no.
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 What are you going to do?
No. I'm going to recreate in a trilogy called the Underworld USA Trilogy, 15 Years of American History. The first volume, American Tabloid, which will be published early next year by Alfred A. Knopf,
Come on.
details 1958 to 1963 America. The second volume in the trilogy covers 1963 to 1968 America and will feature as its hero Donkey Dick Contino.
Oh, okay, all right.
The third volume, 1968 to 1973 America.
We're moving up there,
Yes.
finally.
Then I'm just going to go back to Wisconsin in the 1930s and write the
Oh, you're gonna
German-American roots.
You're going to go back again. You're
Yes.
never going to live in today.
No.
Okay. I can see why you can't live in today. Will you read us something from Hollywood Nocturnes?
All right, Hepcats, dig it. Hepcats, I'm going to read you the prologue
Okay.
to Dick Contino's Blues.
Oh, good. And then we'll have Dick Contino on camera.
That's right.
Okay, go on.
I'm enjoying a half-assed renaissance these days. Some Dago Festa gigs, some lounge work, a good spot on an AIDS telethon. My Lady of Spain reprise goosed 10 grand in contributions and got me a surreptitious blowjob from a college girl working the phone lines. Daddy-O was released on video, and critics hooked on 50s kitsch have been bugging me for interviews. Their questions have my memory turning cartwheels. It's 58 again. I'm an accordionist singer top-lining a B flick for chump change. Did you write Rock Candy Baby and Angel Act yourself? Did you pour the pork to your co-star, that blonde from the Mark C. Bloom tire ads? Who did your wardrobe? Who did your stunts? How'd you get that 51 Ford Airborne, the fuzz and hot pursuit? The footage looked real, but hastily spliced in. I always try to answer truthfully. I always write off the leaping car as movie magic. In all candor, I made that supercharged dual-quad cheater-slicked mother fly. There's a story behind it. My loving farewell to L.A. back then.
That is so great. Have you done these books on tape? Because it just changes the whole feeling of reading a book.
No, but I do numerous cabaret gigs where I read and do shtick, yeah.
Okay. Well, it just changes everything to hear someone like that read. Now, to change things even more, we have Dick Contino.
Yes, we do.
And he's going to play Bumble Boogie.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that everyone's heard at one time or another.
I guarantee you one thing, Joan. You ain't heard it like this before.
Okay, let's hear Bumble Boogie with Dick Contino. Dick was fabulous. We're going to take a break. When we come back, you're going to find out why he chose the accordion, and if we can keep James Ellroy quiet for a little bit, Dick can tell us about his life. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with the profiles. We're with Richard Joseph Contino, who was born in Fresno, January 17, 1930, into a tight-knit Catholic family. He played football for the local high school, and he took accordion lessons. Why did you take accordion lessons?
Well, Joni, initially my dad came home with it one day when I was 7 years old. He wanted to play because he was a natural accordion player. He played by ear, he played guitar, he sang. But I didn't know what I was dealing with at the time, so I quit after about 6 months. And when I was 12 years old, I came back to it because I found that I could express myself through my music. I found difficulty at that time, and in fact, through high school, being able to communicate verbally, you know, with people and things. And so with my music, if a pretty girl walked up to me and she'd say hello, I'd freeze. And so I'd go home, I'd pick up the accordion, and I could say it that way. So.
Were you writing music on the accordion as well? Were you?
No, I've always been attracted to arranging. I could seem to feel what might excite people with songs that are familiar. And I used that particular formula on the Horace Heidt radio show and winning all those contests I had won back then.
That was you were 17 years old at that point.
That's right, right out of high school. I graduated June of '47 out of Fresno High, and then by the end of 1948, by just a beautiful grace of God, so to speak, I seemed to be a household name, you know, at that time.
Everyone knew Dick Contino, and it was just on the radio with Horace Heidt?
It was radio before television. The only person that really used me on TV and all the time, I guess his favorite was Ed Sullivan when Sullivan was on TV.
People remember that when I was talking about you, people remembered that you had been on Ed Sullivan. But I think you said if you had made your career during a time where there was more television, you would have had a longer career, or you would have lasted longer.
Probably so, Joni, because of the visual aspect, you know. Then it was just radio and people can only imagine. But might have been, but still. I've had a great ride. It's been up and down, but it's been great. It's been exciting. It's been different. I wouldn't trade it.
James, how did you actually find him? You told us a little bit about looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
Once you found him, was it the same as what you had expected?
It was better. My wife and I flew out to Vegas. Dick met us at the airport. We slew-footed it over to a Mexican restaurant and had some nachos. We just hit it off, just like that.
Was it difficult for you to be dealing with someone who writes a lot of fiction and to think, what's he going to write about me? How am I going to come out of this?
No, Joni. As a matter of fact, when he came up with the idea of wanting to write the novella, hey, we didn't discuss anything. It wasn't like, well, let me think about this or that, and have you tried this, and what's your opinion? It wasn't that kind of thing at all. I just, I want to write a novella about you. You know, after we had met, it was that immediate thing, you know, where we seemed to know each other, you know. And he said, "Want to do it?" I said, "Great, just turn on the burners. I mean, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to say." And so I never like asked for, and nor did he even feel he had to suggest, say, script approval or
you didn't?
things. No, I just said, just write it. And in fact, when I didn't read it till it was published.
Well, by the time he found you, you'd had a long career. You'd had your ups and
That's
your
right.
downs. Had the accordion always afforded you a living?
Oh yeah, through the years it has. And then too, you brought up a good point. Through the years, having had the ups and downs, after a while, you know, you seem to get through it okay. You do build up sort of a sense of invincibility and high curiosity, you know, to where, all right, let's see where this is going to take me. I don't need any guarantees. Let's see where it's going to take me because I know I will survive or I will flourish or whatever it takes.
So you were ready to be a risk taker in a way.
Yeah, it's much more exciting. If I'm going to walk a tightrope, pull the net away. You know, because
and that's what you've done. Now, have you worked in Branson? Have you worked in You've worked in Las Vegas.
I have from time to time, you know. And
Reno, any of those? Yeah,
but through the years, Joni, I've been through periods where I developed a sense of kind of getting paranoid at first, you know. And I turned to heavy gambling. One time I drank a lot.
Oh, you did?
Things, oh yeah, because, you know, I was feeling sorry for myself. And I realized that, like in gambling, I wanted to prove to myself, and I wanted to prove what people thought. And once I realized I wanted confirmation of what I thought of myself, I was able to quit, and that was I wanted to prove I was a loser.
So you really did have ups and downs in your personal life and also in your professional life.
Yeah.
I wondered if that was something that brought the two of you together. You lost your wife early on, I think, and you lost your mother. Did those kind of things bind you in any way?
What I think it was more than anything else is this key story in the development of the saga of Dick Contino, which is the fact that Dick got a very raw deal in 1951.
Right. Tell us.
His army beef. Dick was flying very, very, very high in 1951. He got a draft notice in the mail. Dick was, frankly, and he'll be the first one to tell you this, quite a phobic young guy. I mean, he conjured terror out of thin air. And you know, it was a debilitating form of fear that should have kept him out of the Army.
Yeah.
As it happened, he was drafted. He bolted from the Army Reception Station Barracks at Fort Ord, California, but turned himself in almost immediately. As a result of his, 48-hour desertion, and I put heavy quotation marks around that, he was indicted, tried, and sentenced to 6 months in prison. After he got out of prison, McNeil Island, Washington, the federal joint, he was drafted and sent to Korea, where he served with distinction and rose from private to staff sergeant and was given an unsolicited presidential pardon by Harry S. Truman.
Were you surprised at that point when you came out of jail and then you were drafted? I mean, I would think that that serving time would have taken care of whatever had happened to him.
Well, not really, because I would have had to serve, say, a year. I didn't realize at the time, but like serve a year and a day or more to be an ex-con. Then I couldn't be drafted. So I was not an ex-con.
Oh, I see.
Like, yes, less than a year and a day makes it a misdemeanor, really, even though I served time in a federal penitentiary. Excuse me. So I anticipated being drafted again.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And then you had some draft situation.
No, basically, I joined the Army in 1965. I was booted out of high school, Fairfax, which is near here. My father signed to allow me to join the Army. He got very, very sick almost as soon as I got to the reception station barracks. And, well, Dick bolted, but I didn't have the courage to bolt. I started faking a nervous breakdown.
Oh, I see.
I calculated and lied my way out of the Army.
I see. But that also, there had to be something going on for you to even get to that point where you could do it.
I was a lazy, evil, misanthropic little geek. I wanted to get the hell out of the Army, Quicksville. They made me get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, put a pack on, and do push-ups. And I wanted to come back to L.A. and return to my passions, basically.
And now look
drinking, using drugs, and sniffing women's undergarments.
Look what we have now, Dick. We've created a monster. He got out of the Army, and he's like, you're going to make us all famous, I think, after
That's
this
true.
show.
That's
yes,
true.
I think so. Can you read us just a little bit from the
Yes.
Dick Contino Blues?
I am reading from Dick Contino's Blues. Of course, the first-person voice is Dick Contino. Late 47, Fresno. I glommed a spot on Horace Heights' radio program. Amateur night stuff, studio audience, applause meter. I figured I'd play Lady of Spain, lose to some local babe Height was banging, and go on to college. I won. Bobby Soxers swarmed me backstage. I turned 18 the next month. I kept winning every Sunday night, weeks running. I beat singers, comics, a Negro trombonist, and a blind vibraphone virtuoso. I shook, twisted, stomped, gyrated, flailed, thrashed, genuflected, wiggled, strutted, and banged my squeeze box like a dervish orbiting on Benzedrine, Mary Jane, and glue. I pelvis popped and pounded pianissimos. I cascaded cadenzas and humped harmonic hurricanes until the hogs hollered for hell, straight through to Horace Heights Grand Finals. I became a national celebrity, toured the country as Heights headliner, and went solo big.
Solo big. That's great. Do you feel like you could ever come back again and be solo big with an accordion, or would you have to do something else?
I really don't care. I mean, I care, but I don't care. I mean, I have adopted a philosophy of life that I've realized that handpicking, living in the past is probably the lowest form of humanhood. Living in the future is not quite as good as dealing with the present. So where I am, I feel self-complete. I feel happy with where I am right at this moment, and I'll live each moment. And so I don't care whether I make it big or don't make it big. It doesn't matter, because the mountains and valleys will always be there for the biggest and for the lowest.
What do you see? Where do you see yourself working in the future?
Well, to be honest, I'll tell you briefly, very honestly, Joni, I don't really believe in like theology. I study mysticism, metaphysics. So I believe that there's a God power, God being living my life, as all of us. And the more I can contact that and let it live its own life, and I just like to go along for the ride. In fact, a comrade of yours, Soroyan, once said that God lives my life, and I just go along for the ride.
And were you living in Fresno the same time William Soroyan was living in Fresno?
Just about, yeah. In fact, I know so many people in Fresno, many Armenian people there. In fact, Jay Ohanian, known as Mike Connors,
yes,
on Mannix, is a good friend of mine.
Was he living in Fresno at the time?
Yeah, Jay was one year ahead of me at Fresno High. Yeah.
Would you ever move back to Fresno?
If I'm taken there, if I, like I say, I love going along for the ride. I met James. It was something that, like the lines crossed. Sometimes I see life like lines, and pow, they lock. And the lines crossed, and like I told them, I have no great expectations, but I'm sure enjoying the ride. I enjoy it. This guy's got a great mind. He's got great imagination, and and our friendship is something I feel that just happened maybe years ago.
Do we see any other collaboration between the two of you?
Absolutely. I have decided to write a Dick Contino novella a year for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Dick Contino will be the hero of my next novel, the novel after American Tabloid, which will be published early next year by Alfred A. Knopf.
Right, we
the
heard
second
that,
volume
right.
in my Underworld USA trilogy.
He will.
Dick will be the hero.
Yeah.
Now, would you ever move back to Los Angeles to
No.
write again?
No,
No.
no. I like the East. I like the quiet. I like the peace. Yeah, I got enough bad juju and crazy stuff happening in my brain to last me the rest of my life. I don't need the stimulus of LA.
You already have it, though.
Right.
The stimulus is what's really keeping your work going.
It's not really the stimulus of LA. It's whatever native talent I have, whatever talent the good Lord gave me, and my conscious application of the craft.
That's it.
You were talking about the mysticism. Do you think that comes from the Catholic Church? Like, just set you aside?
No, I don't. Like I say, with all due respect to all religions, I'm just not a theologian. The Catholic Church seemed to serve a beautiful purpose in my life when in my youth, although at times I couldn't handle the guilt trips all the time, So I had to branch into something else with a deeper understanding of what constitutes mistakes and errors, so to speak. So it led me from metaphysics into mysticism, and so no, everything's just very present that way.
Well, we had a very pleasant time.
Well, I had a blast.
Well, it's the end. We have to say goodbye. Thank you for being with us today, and keep writing to us. And if you want to know anything else about James or Dick, just ask us, and we'll have them answer your letters. Thank you. Thank you.
Joni.